Sensitive and interesting times. Today's stories. The Democratic Republic of the Congo court declares Tshisekedi winner.
Tshisekedi Chilombo Felix, 7 millions.
A suspected car bomb explodes in Northern Ireland. Colombia's Duque reiterates call for Cuba to arrest ELN members.
Acto criminal violador de los derechos humanos.
U.S. military says 52 Somali Islamists have been killed in an airstrike. President Trump lays out a plan for a shutdown compromise.
$10 in urgent humanitarian assistance.
The fight against Trump's border wall hits home along the Rio Grande.
As you can see, I mean, it's a quiet place.
Plus, federal workers at the Honolulu International Airport hold a silent march against the partial government shutdown. Hello everyone, I'm Ace Ramirez, bringing you stories from around the globe. And this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Democratic Republic of the Congo's top court on Sunday declared opposition leader Felix Tshisekedi the winner of disputed presidential elections after throwing out a legal challenge by the runner-up. Announcing the final results of the much-delayed poll, the Constitutional Court said Tshisekedi had won by a simple majority, paving the way for him to take over from long-term leader Joseph Kabila.
Ramazani Shadari Emmanuel, 4 353 359, soit 23,81%. Fayoulou Madidi Martin, 6 366 732. Tshisekedi Chilombo Félix, 7 51 013, soit 38,57%.
Il n'y a pas encore eu passation de pouvoir, mais je crois qu'il se met déjà, qu'il est dans la peau du président de la République et qu'il peut déjà commencer à travailler parce qu'il n'a pas du temps à perdre.
Runner-up Martin Fayulu, who has previously described the outcome as an electoral coup forged by Tshisekedi and Kabila, immediately called on the international community to reject the results. Declaring himself the only legitimate president, he said of Tshisekedi, and I quote, "I ask the entire international community not to recognize a power that has neither legitimacy nor legal standing to represent the Congolese people." Tshisekedi's victory was provisionally announced earlier this month by the Independent National Election Commission, or CENI, but it was challenged both at home and abroad, with the African Union appealing for the final results to be delayed. On Sunday, the Constitutional Court said Fayulu's claims were unfounded and he had failed to prove any inaccuracies in the figures, describing his call for a recount as absurd. Judge Noel Kilomba said only the CENI has produced authentic and sincere results. The head of the court, Benedict Luamba Bindu, went on to declare Tshisekedi as the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo by simple majority. The ruling was considered unsurprising, with the court made up of Kabila's allies. Hundreds of supporters of Tshisekedi had gathered outside the court, holding placards saying "No to interference" and "Independent country," as riot police stood by. The CENI has previously scheduled the swearing-in of the next president for Tuesday.
Police said a suspected car bomb exploded in the northern Irish city of Londonderry on Saturday, with leading politicians alleging the blast was terror-related. The police service of Northern Ireland tweeted a photograph of the scene outside a courthouse as it warned that evacuations were taking place due to a second suspect vehicle in the British province's second city.
The PSNI tweeted, "Police are in attendance at the scene of an incident in London Derry City Centre. We would ask for patience and cooperation of the public and the business community as we carry out our initial investigations. Bishop Street closed, stay away, suspected car bomb," an earlier tweet said. The force added on Facebook, and I quote, "As far as we know, no one injured. There's another car we are not happy about. There are ongoing necessary evacuations." Politicians from all sides on the island of Ireland condemned the incident. Former Northern Irish First Minister Arlene Foster, who heads the province's Democratic Unionist Party, referred to it as a, and I quote, "pointless act of terror," while the Republic of Ireland's Foreign Minister Simon Coveney called it a car bomb terrorist attack. The 3 decades of sectarian bloodshed in Northern Ireland, known as the Troubles, were largely brought to an end under the 1998 Good Friday Peace Accords. Car bomb attacks were responsible for some of the worst atrocities. Foster, who leads the pro-British DUP, said, and I quote, "The pointless act of terror must be condemned in the strongest terms. Only hurts the people of the city. Perpetrated by people with no regard for life." She said the swift actions of the emergency services had helped ensure there were no fatalities or injuries. Coveney, also Ireland's Deputy Prime Minister, tweeted, "I utterly condemn the car bomb terrorist attack in Derry this evening. There is no place and no justification possible for such acts of terror, which seek to drag Northern Ireland back to violence and conflict." Alicia McCallion, the local member of the British Parliament from the Irish Republican Party Sinn Féin, condemned the bomb attack. She said in a statement, "This incident has shocked the local community. Thankfully, no one appears to have been injured. Derry is a city moving forward, and no one wants this type of incident."
Colombian President Ivan Duque reiterates his call for Cuba to arrest and hand over 10 ELN members who are part of the group's delegation to the peace talks in Cuba after Colombia blamed ELN rebels for a bomb that killed 20 people, as well as the attacker in Bogota. And he also asked political leaders to march with him this weekend against violence.
Lo que se presentó no fue una diferencia de opinión. Lo que se presentó fue un acto criminal violador de los derechos humanos y ningún acto de esa naturaleza amerita ningún protocolo que evite que se haga justicia. Por eso le pedimos a ese gobierno que entregue a esos criminales para que se haga justicia. Yo estaré como un ciudadano caminando en las calles de Bogotá. Quiero invitar a todos los líderes políticos de todos los partidos a que estén presentes en esa marcha y en todas las marchas que se hagan en el país.
Coming up, U.S. military says 52 Somali Islamists have been killed in an airstrike. President Trump lays out a plan for a shutdown compromise. The fight against Trump's border wall hits home along the Rio Grande. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly.
Eagle News teams are fair.
Sa impeachment complaint laban kay Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno, ang ilang maestro.
Ang rekomendasyon na makasuhan ang mga sangkot kasama na ang mga opisyal ng customs.
Hardworking.
Papaunlad ng isang bata na magiging isang future youth leaders.
Dedicated.
Sa nasawi ay dito natagpuan yung
Ito yung kanilang paraan ng pag-aalaga ng mga may sakit na leprosy noong unang panahon.
Committed to public service.
ang chairmanship ng ASEAN sa bansang Singapore.
Marami yung mga biktima ng mga nawawala ng Bureau of Customs na nasa merkado na yung mga pinaging produkto.
Sa kapila ng mga kilos protesta na nanatiling
dahil sa mabilis na pagresponde ng mga pamatay sunog, ang apoy
mabilis na
karoon ng equal opportunity ang ibang mga kababaihan
ng mga kabataan at ipinakita sa pamagitan ng kanilang mga likha.
Nanatiling kulang pa rin ang tubig para sa irigasyon, para sa pagtatanim ng ating mga kababayang magsasaka.
As we live in interesting times.
News, Linggo, alas 4 hanggang alas 5 ng hapon.
Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. According to a statement from U.S. Africa Command, United States military forces carried out an airstrike Saturday against Islamist group Al-Shabaab, killing 52 militants. The statement said U.S. Africa Command conducted the airstrike in response to an attack by a large group of Al-Shabaab militants against Somali National Army forces. We currently assess this airstrike killed 52 militants.
Military officials and local elders in Somalia said heavily armed Shabaab militants had launched a dawn raid on a military camp, followed by a heavy exchange of gunfire which lasted hours. Sources at nearby villages said the militants looted the camp and took a military vehicle. The Pentagon has increased the rate of strikes in Somalia in recent years, partly because President Donald Trump loosened constraints on when the U.S. military can take action against alleged terrorists. Sulaiman Is, a witness at a nearby village, said the Somali forces later regrouped after receiving reinforcement from Kismayo and returned to the base. He said, and I quote, "The Somali forces retook control of the base with the assistance of military helicopters belonging to the U.S. Special Forces, which were hovering over the area even after the attack." Shabaab militants claimed responsibility for the attack and claimed to have killed 42 soldiers. The incident came a day after Shabaab said it had attacked Ethiopian troops in Somalia in an ambush attack on the road between the capital and the southwest town of Baidoa. The Shabaab have been fighting to overthrow the internationally backed government in Mogadishu, and on Tuesday carried out a deadly attack in neighboring Kenya, which has regularly targeted since Nairobi sent troops into Somalia. 4 gunmen and a suicide bomber left 21 dead and injured 28 in Nairobi.
waxaanu anagu maanta aanu ku guuleysanay inaanu muxuu cadowga baabi'ino 75 muxuu cadowga ka tirsan oo al-shabaab yaanu maanta waxa weeye dhimashadooda ummadda Soomaaliyeed una soo bandhigaynaa una cadaynaynaa waxa weeye dhaawacuna inta uu ka sii badan yahay ilaa waxa weeyaan ciidamada Soomaaliyeed iyo ciidamada caalamiga ah waxa weeye ummadda Soomaaliyeed caawinaya ilaa meesha ugu dambaysa ee ka guuleysanana ka harimayno.
President Donald Trump Saturday offered temporary protection for people illegally brought to the United States as children and other groups of immigrants facing deportation in exchange for funding for his controversial border wall. But Trump's proposal to end the 29-day partial shutdown of the U.S. government, which was sparked by a dispute over funding for the wall, appeared dead on arrival, with the top Democrat in Congress rejecting the proposal based on reports of its contents prior to the speech.
Trump's proposal calls for $5.7 billion for border wall funding, $800 million in urgent humanitarian assistance, and $805 million for drug detection technology and port security. In a nod to Democratic priorities, he offered 3 years of protection for 700,000 so-called dreamers who were brought to the country illegally when they were children, as well as for 300,000 immigrants whose protected status is expiring.
Our plan includes the following: $800 million in urgent humanitarian assistance, $805 million for drug detection technology to help secure our ports of entry, an additional 2,750 border agents and law enforcement professionals. 75 new immigration judge teams to reduce the court backlog of, believe it or not, almost 900,000 cases. However, the whole concept of having lengthy trials for anyone who sets one foot in our country unlawfully must be changed by Congress. It is unsustainable. It is ridiculous. Our plan includes critical measures to protect migrant children from exploitation and abuse. This includes a new system to allow Central American minors to apply for asylum in their home countries and reform to promote family reunification for unaccompanied children, thousands of whom wind up on our border doorstep. To physically secure our border, the plan includes $5.7 billion for a strategic deployment of physical barriers, or a wall. This is not a 2,000-mile concrete structure from sea to sea. These are steel barriers in high-priority locations. This plan solves the immediate crisis, and it is a horrible crisis. It is a humanitarian crisis like we rarely see in our country. And it provides humanitarian relief, delivers real border security, and immediately reopens our federal government.
But prior to the speech, Speaker of the House of Representatives Nancy Pelosi dismissed Trump's proposals as a, and I quote, a compilation of several previously rejected initiatives, each of which is unacceptable and in total do not represent a good faith effort to restore certainty to people's lives. Pelosi said in a statement, and I quote, "It is unlikely that any one of these provisions alone would pass the House, and taken together, they are a non-starter."
Last year, Congress approved $1.6 billion in funding for a portion of the border wall promised by President Trump. For some, residents of Mission, a Texas town along the banks of the Rio Grande, the arrival of bulldozers could mean the loss of their land.
In this yard in the Texas town of Mission, they played as children, learned how to fish, picked cotton, and gathered watermelons. But because it's on the border with Mexico, the Cavazos family could lose their property to Donald Trump's border wall. They are not going down without a fight. Construction seems inevitable. Financing for the portion of the president's much-awaited border wall that would pass through the Cavazos property in the Rio Grande Valley was approved by Congress in March 2018. It is separate from the wider debate about border wall funding that has roiled Washington for weeks, sparked a showdown between Trump and Democratic lawmakers, and led the longest government shutdown in American history. The federal government has already surveyed the land, which mainly belongs to Eloisa, the first step towards construction. The family opposed the move, and the government filed suit, winning the initial case. The Cavazos clan is not giving up just yet, though. They have appealed the initial decision and are being represented on a pro bono basis by the Texas Civil Rights Project.
And to us, it's worth more than money. You know, we have an actual love for the land.
When we come back, federal workers at the Honolulu International Airport hold a silent march against the partial government shutdown. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly.
Sound, which is a National Historic Site in Vancouver, British Columbia. Located in Vancouver's oldest neighborhood is the steam-powered clock, which is Gastown's most famous landmark. Make sure to tune in to Digital Nest every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. I am Lou Aquino, EBC correspondent, and I am 1 with 25.
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. I am Ace Ramirez. As the U.S. government partial shutdown dragged on to a whole month, its effects on federal workers have been taking a toll, from no pay to an increase in bills to a decline in customer service. Eagle News correspondent Alfred Acenas spoke with several employees and supporters who joined a unique protest in Hawaii.
We've got to get our workers back. We've got to get federal workers back to work. No employee shall be asked to come to work and not get paid. No employee shall be furloughed because of lapse in government funding. It's about opening up the government and telling Congress and our president to act and put Americans back to work.
The federal government is going into almost a full month of a government shutdown, the longest in the nation's history. And I'm here at Honolulu's Daniel K. Inouye International Airport, where laid off or furloughed employees, union representatives, and even supporters from other agencies and entities are gathered here to conduct a silent march that will start here on one end of the airport and marching all the way to the other side of the terminal.
All the way through the end at United.
So we're inside the Hawaiian Airlines terminal at this time. The march has just begun, and then I believe we are to exit the facility here in a few seconds. The purpose of this route, according to what I've gathered, is to make themselves known to the tourism industry that even in this time of year, in January, it's still relatively busy with the tourists still crowding Hawaiian Airlines and other airline facilities.
Julie, a post office worker as well as a postal union representative, shares the pain of her fellow employees.
But I do believe as a federal worker, when one is injured, one of our brothers or sisters is injured, it does a domino effect to everyone. As the saying goes, injured to one is injured to all. Okay. So it causes a domino effect where it starts affecting our economy and even people's personal lives.
I see.
I will do my best. We have supported other locals here. Our union did, and personally, I my own self have supported other locals out of my own personal finances. Because I know what it's like not to have and to do the struggles.
Members of the Department of Defense, or DoD, which makes up roughly 75% of the federal workforce and the second largest industry in Hawaii, are not affected by the shutdown. Yet still, DoD civilian employees like Jamie took her time to help those who are.
So we're just here to help rally for the TSA workers that are being affected today. For us, I represent federal workers in different areas of the Navy, Pearl Harbor, Naval Shipyard, and stuff like that. They're not affected. So the DoD was covered, in this last bill. So we feel for them. It could have been us, like all of our workers as well. Every year, yes, we go through this every year.
So we just came from the drop-off area of the departure level of Honolulu's airport, and we are now inside the check-in terminals of the what appears to be the international airlines, international carriers. At this time, you're looking at the line for the airport security to be provided by the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA. And yes, the TSA is affected with the shutdown. However, one of the exceptions is that a lot of its employees are still tasked to provide services, namely the security for the building here, as well as for the flights that are departing and arriving. So that is a big challenge, a big dilemma for some of these employees that are not receiving paychecks. And it's still a very busy day here at Honolulu's International Airport.
As the marchers finally arrived at their destination and made their statements known to the public, some of them had personal messages for President Trump and leaders in Congress.
I said, Donald Trump, grow up. You need to start doing your job and do what you were elected for, and that is to provide for the American public, you know, for the United States. That's what he's there for.
This is just, you know, not fair to the federal workers that are being affected, and it's all because of dysfunction in Washington, D.C. It's not their fault.
Stop using people, man. Stop taking people hostage, you know, for personal gains. It's hurting people. It's really hurting people. 800,000 workers out there. You know, it's just sad. It's sad to see humans taking advantage of humans that are just trying to make things work.
Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, I'm Alfred Asenas, 1 with 25.
Thank you, Alfred. That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at Eaglenews.PH and EagleNewsLive.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Twitter.com/EagleNewsPH. Thank you for watching. I'm Ace Ramirez. I'm 1 with 25.